Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Dundee Show podcast. Today I am sitting with a very colourful character. He has written books, he has done plays, he was one of the first reality TV stars, that's correct, is it?
I wouldn't say a star, but in any of the first ever shows.
Well, we're going to get his life story. I'm going to pick his bit, like the Gangs. This is the author of the Gangs of Dundee, which was a massive book in Dundee back in 2007, and it's still a massive book today. It still gets spoke about today. So yeah, welcome Gary Robertson. Thank you for coming, mate. How are you?
Thank you, Chris. I'm good, thanks. Life's good.
Yeah, you're looking good, man.
Oh.
So we just like to take it back to the start, mate. Like, what year were you born, and where did you grow up?
It was February 21st, 1967. I was born in the DRI, and my first house was in Ryhill Lane, in a tenement with an outside pisher. Outside toilets. It's funny to think that it's not that long ago, and yet.
When did it come in? Like 80s is when, like, or 70s or 80s?
What, outside toilets?
No, like indoor toilets was like.
Once the scheme started getting built after the war, mainly the new houses with toilets inside was a big luxury.
Okay, John Riley was on about that last week. That's what he was on about.
It's mental, I think. I mean, I've no memories really of Ryhill Lane. The tenements are knocked down there now on the side I was on. But I was there for 2 years, and then I moved to the brand new Whitfield Maltese in 1969. And that was, like say, anybody, because Dundee centre, and like many cities up and down Britain, Scotland and that, there was real poverty and overcrowding. And Dundee was second only to Glasgow with poverty. So when all these new housing schemes started going up after the wars, it was just luxury, hey, and a bath and a bath and a toilet in your own house. But we moved to the Maltese in '69, Whitfield, and it was funny because that scheme went downhill very quickly. We moved out of there in 1974, but great upbringing. I mean, I was 7-year-old when I moved out of the Whitfield Maltese, but I was just speaking to my mate in the Scaffies today, just saying the freedom you had as a wee tot, and other families were the same. You're just like, right, out you go. And
is this the time that everybody describes it that it was safe to keep your doors unlocked at night and stuff? Everybody knew everybody.
I mind my gran and granda in Fincastle Place leaving their door open and that. Their house got screwed in the late 70s, so it wasn't a great idea, but this is true. My granda chased the boy across the back with an axe. Thankfully, he never caught him. But there was that kind of culture. People did leave their doors,
strong communities and stuff.
Doors opening.
Like we were speaking.
A lot of people kent each other.
Like we were speaking off camera. Like we'll bring it up later on. But the animation that Dylan Drummond done for you for your New Year thing, like, that was. The poem that you done for that and the description and how that came to life, it showed like a strong community vibe and like something that's seriously missing nowadays.
It is. I think people have all kind of got used to their own company and but back then, certainly in New Year parties, anybody could chap the door really, and mostly you'd be welcomed in, and as long as you had a bottle or a few tinnies, you could get fired in about the party.
Yeah, it's not like that.
No.
So what memories do you have of like the Whitfield Maltese?
Oh, just great upbringing. Just freedom, really. Being a wee bairn and what the back of the Whitfield shop, setting fires and that kind of rubbish, and just a while on adventures, wandering over the place.
Because you're right at the back of the hills and the cities and that are just on your back doorstep there, aren't they?
We wouldn't go that far, but like even as a wee bairn, I would have been 3, 4, 5-year-old, playing on the garage riffs, up on the shop riffs and that, climbing, just up to the things that bairns had done for years before us. It was just what I remember, a dead happy childhood, just playing and no thoughts of danger or that. I mean, the gang stuff was on the go, but when you're a wee bairn, you're away for that until you get a bit older.
Just probably being a kid.
I mean, the Maltese as well. The Dren Green below the multis was communal, so because everybody had to hang their washing up, and if your old man had Wranglers, if you had enough money or that, they'd get tanned off the line. Stuff was getting stolen, and called it snowdropping.
Yeah, snowdropping. Yeah.
Even when we moved to Fintry, there was stuff getting nicked off the line and that. Kind of, if you left it out overnight, some of it was going.
What trends do you remember about this time? So, sorry, was it in this would be like early 70s?
Early 70s. I mean, my mum and dad had music on in the house at the time, records, vinyl. They come out of the 60s era, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones.
Some class music.
So there was music on at the time in the house. I loved it. But my first memories really of music was probably the glam rock coming in.
Like T-Rex and stuff.
72, 73, 74. And then the Bay City Rollers.
Oh, yeah.
My auntie, she's only 3 years older than us, but she was a massive Bay City Rollers fan. And that was the times when people would have David Cassidy, big full-length posters in their bedroom, or the Bay City Rollers or whatever, Slade. But she was a massive Rollers fan, and she had the tartan down the side of the trousers and the Target shirts and that.
Exactly. That was the
Western
vibe,
jumpers.
Yeah.
And it was just too young. Other older boys and that had parallel trousers. They were like Skinners, just a parallel length all the way down. Mm-hmm. No bell bottoms, flares, but they come a wee bit later. But the flares were on the go. But one great thing is my old man got a cine camera off the back of a Larry. So he documented our Christmases and summers.
That'd be brilliant to see.
We cine, and you could see how the fashions at the time. It's mental.
Well, the old school furniture and everything as well.
Oh, and like we're saying, the New Year parties. I can remember the cabinets and that. I had cigarette burns on them, because people would just leave their cigarette on the side and it'd be burning away and they're blethering. And it was at times old man getting the boys would have bunts in for a big keg of beer, 8 to 8 pint, and trying to get that pumped up started. And
that was in the video, was it?
And I mean, as bairns, you'd eventually go out of your bed, you could just hear the mayhem. There was always sing-songs, and then you'd get up in the morning, there's people laying over your mum and dad's house, getting beer everywhere. What a mess. But when you look back, it was great times.
Yeah, it was like, I remember like New Year's parties when I was a bairn, and like it would go on for like 3 days, and it was just, you were going for people's houses, and that was great. Like, you were really enjoying it, obviously. Yeah, good times. What about right, okay, so you said you moved up the multis, so you went to Fintry, yeah?
It was me and my sister. I meant to say Steph. She's 2.5 years younger than me. So I think Mum and Dad got a chance of a house in Fintry. But it was funny when I was researching the gang book later. Fintry had went right downhill socially in the late 60s, and the gangs were pretty rife. And there was a lot of what they called moonlighting. Like, again, poverty and that. People couldn't pay their rent and that, so they would maybe amass months and months of debt and then just bugger off. And the new housing scheme of Whitfield was there, so people would just go along there and get a new house.
Yeah, just jump through one.
It's mental to think nowadays, and the debt would be left. The council must have, or whatever, the corporation must have been in thousands of pounds of debt. But we actually got a house that people had just left, and I was 7-year-old then. I can still see the state of that house, the garden and the inside. It was just like a bomb had went off. But and the old man was good with the DIY and that, so pretty soon it was our house, and Mum and Dad's still there yet.
Really? Still in the same house?
Old man's 82 and Mum's about to be 80 this year.
Is that like the first time you had like your own garden and stuff?
Like I said, the multis was just a massive playground outside, and I think I've said it before, more often than not, the lifts weren't working, they were broke in the multis, and we were 9 up, and again, you were just a wee totty bairn. We're walking up pitch black stairs at night, ken, up to your house.
Oh, you wouldn't want any bairns walk about the multis
No,
at night.
no.
Nowadays,
I wouldn't even. My grandson's what to be 11 in June. I wouldn't have dream of letting him out as a young bairn, ken, especially one a dark multi and that. But you didn't think nothing of it.
Yeah.
But moving to Fintry was great. Mark new pals and new scale and all that, and that was it.
Did you remember the gang influence about when you moved to Fintry?
I was just thinking about this earlier, Chris, when my first real memory, and I would have still been a wee bairn in Whitfield, would have been going down to Drumgeath and just sitting on a wee hillside and seeing these massive bodies on Drumgeath football pitches just running back and forth at each other. You were watching from afar, and it was more than likely Fintry and Whitfield Shams fighting with the Douglas Toady or Mid or that, but that was my first recollection of seeing mass mob running about at each other, and pretty soon you got streetways because you were out on the streets all the time, and you started getting to hear about gangs and that.
When I was younger, the graffiti was everywhere.
That's a huge thing. The graffiti, everybody's territory was marked. So
yeah, heavily marked.
If you went into an R scheme, you knew what gang area you were in, and it was really dodgy times. The older you got, as a wee bairn, you're kind of innocent and a waffy that, but when you get a wee bit older, you're fair game to get a kicking.
In your book, one of the mad stories was it a boy from Kirton? He was going out with a girl for Fintry, and the bother that followed, like trying to come into the scheme and that.
That was my auntie's good pal. I could probably say her name now, Grace. She was from Fintry. Her and my auntie went about together, but she went with a well-known Kirton Hun. He was actually in any of the pieces of fund in the papers for the early 60s. Got fined for haying Huns and that, and studs on the back with a leather jacket.
This is the start of the trend with the gangs, is it?
It goes back a wee bit before that, but the Grace's story is mental because there was like she Huns and she Shams and that, even that far back. So
we're going into the 60s.
We're talking the 60s. So because she was fae Fintry, going into Kirton was really dangerous for her, and she did get a few kickings, serious kickings, no just a wee slap. And it was the same for, I'll not say his name, when he come.
Yeah, he went into Fintry.
Fintry, serious kickings again, because people knew why he was.
What age group would they have been about when this was happening?
It's funny, I never really asked them, but I would say 16 to 18 maybe. So it's not really wee bairns.
Yeah, you're getting to that age.
The later teens,
It's crazy to think that, like, you know what I mean, like, just because
maybe even up to 19, 20, so a bit older, because the later eras of the gangs, they maybe got a bit younger, but the earlier days were kind of getting into young men and young women, maybe up in the early 20s.
We'll go back to the studded jackets, because the Kirton Huns, like, they claim that they started the gangs,
I don't know how they would really say they did, but I think history proves that they were kind of the first scheme gang. When I talked to the guys, I tried to talk to as many of the older people as I could get contact with, and I think just the precursor of the Dundee scheme gangs, and maybe the same up and down the country, was the arrival rock and roll music in the 50s, and the fashion of the teddy boys and teddy girls, and even there's reports in the local papers in Dundee of like violence between rival gangs in the Overgate and that, and weapons being found after Abdi cleared out.
Is this like the shimmy and everything?
This is before this, Chris, before any named gangs. So really coming out of the war into the 53, 54, 55, and my granda used to do the door. He'd been in the Second World War, and he used to do a bit of the booth boxing and that, and him and his pal Sammy Welsh, a lot of people will ken him in Fintry, a great boxer. They would do the door of the Empress, where I think the Royal Arch is down at the docks. Well, where it was, it got through in the water. Sacrilege. But my granddad would do the door, and they had a lot of bother with the Teddy boys in the mid-50s. So for me, just looking at the evolution, the youth culture, I would say, really started its journey in the mid-50s.
With the Teddy
the rock
boys.
and roll music and the fashion.
So what comes after Teddy Boys? Mods?
Yes. Again, the music was kind of evolving. The late 50s and the early 60s, you've got the skiffle bands and that doing different kind of music. And just before the Curtin Huns do kick off, there was a gang in Curtin called the Curtin Cowboys. And they were probably the very first named gang in Dundee, because I researched the papers as far back as the early 1900s to see if there was any headlines of named
Like
gangs
sort of
and
street gangs,
violence,
yeah.
and I couldn't find anything. So I'm not saying there wasn't, but that would have been in the Old Town Centre.
How long does a research for something like that take you? Like scouring through it all?
I can't mind the time I was on it, maybe a year or that, just researching, but it was dead interesting. Just going into the Dundee Central Library and going through rolls and rolls of newspaper. They were a great help, actually, we as, but just putting up on the screen and going through, just looking for any snippets of
just
gangs.
to see what you could find, yeah.
But even in the mid-50s, there was like vandalism and that, and it's not until it comes into the 60s, like the Curtin Cowboys had sort of come about. Most of the schemes had been developed after the war, 1945 onwards. There was a couple before that, but I think personally, just with the research, once people had moved out the city centre and schemes or housing estates had been named, then you've got borders. So then it's kind of, it just moves on to people are, that's your territory.
Yeah, territorial, yeah.
So it just leads on to gangs, and by the 60s, the music again had changed, the mod fashion and the rockers and all that. So there was rivalry, and the Curtin Huns, I would say about maybe 1963, 64, they'd kind of took on a rocker look with the leather jackets and the jeans and putting studs on the back with Huns and that, and then very quickly the Shimmy gang had formed in the town centre, and they were a kind of mix of guys for the town centre and people for the schemes, although they would still be affiliated with their own schemes, the Shimmy, and a lot of them were Dundee United fans, but no specifically.
I was going to say, 'cause it's got a massive United affiliation.
There was Dundee fans and that in the Shimmy.
I loved the idea of the Shimmy. It was like mod affiliated, was it? And like Dundee, they said that over getting the 60s is really cool, but then you hear, well, United still sing about the Shimmy, do they?
Shimmy rule,
It's heavily affiliated with United.
Well, some of the old guys that I interviewed, Big Alec Young and that, were a proper first guys in the Shimmy and that, and they says they're like grandfathers now, and says you could be sitting at Tannadice and the youngins are singing Shimmy Rule, and they're like, that was us.
Yeah, no, it's like a proper folk.
Come on, Chris, there was a lot of funny stories in amongst a lot of unsavoury stuff and that. There was some real humour in amongst it, but really, they two in the city centre, the Shimmy and the Curtin Huns, if they seen each other in the town, it was going ahead.
On, yeah.
And I didn't think it was really chases back then. It was real getting in amongst it. And again, just researching the papers, mid-1960s, Curtin Huns were in the paper quite a lot. I mean, there's one headline with 150 youths running amok. I mean, in today's terms, I think people seeing that would be rightly shocked to see that amount of youths just running about and smashing stuff up and
causing mayhem.
kind of terrible, but that's what was happening.
Yeah, again, that goes down to poverty, and there's like not a lot happening, not a lot to do.
That's what there was kind of the things in the paper that there wasn't a lot, because what you've got to remember as well, when they built the housing schemes, it was a long time before the community centres came, and even basic shops and that, and transport. When Fintry was first getting built, the tram stopped at the top of Farfar Road. My gran and granda says, you got off there and you walked back the half mile or whatever into Fintry. So there was no amenities or anything. I think the Fintry Community Centre come about in the early 60s, and a lot of the other schemes followed, Curtin and Ardler and that. And it was something to do, and by the time we were younger, going to the community centre was a huge thing. They were really popular and great for bringing youngins, not just for the scheme, this Fintry or Curtin or that, but for around the book. And you went along there to listen to your music and dress up as a punk rocker or a skinhead. Or
that is the theory that we're trying to bring back heavily. Just exactly what you said. That is heavily what we're trying to bring back. It's like a community spirit thing. You know what I mean? I think that's what's missing.
I think there's plenty to see for Abdi. It's kind of been lost, and just the way things have moved on. Abdi's happy sitting on their phone.
The Fintry Community Centre, like, I'm glad you mentioned it, because I've heard that they used to have Northern Soul nights, all nighters in there. Like, no alcohol was served, but like everybody was up dancing all night.
Just before that, Chris, in the 60s and that, they would get bands in, quite big name bands in Dundee, and then they would bring a bar in and that. Davy Young and that would hear that, and it was a huge event, Ken. Probably people queuing up to get in, and really popular. And then the Northern Soul come about maybe the mid 70s, and that was a huge sway in bringing a lot of the gangs together that had been tearing lumps at each other. And yeah, Fintry was a great centre for the Northern Soul. It was just before my time, but I remember all the music and that, and I got into punk and skinhead and that later, and the ska was on the go.
We've been sidetracked because I knew this was going to happen. I'll get you in the gangs. Like, you're in Fintry, so what was high school like? Sorry, where did you go to high school?
I was at Fintry Primary, and then I went to Lunlahan.
Lunlahan High?
Yeah.
Which is no longer there anymore,
Knockdown,
is it? Yeah.
My old Fintry Primary's Knockdown, and Greenfield and Whitfield's Knockdown. Every place I've left's been knocked down.
So but
Hescale I went in 79.
So, right, the punk era was well and truly in...
I remember, I think I might have mentioned it in the gang book. I remember, like, overnight, it was probably about 1977, so the usual had been grown down in London way before it hit Scotland.
Yeah, the Sex Pistols are out and about.
76, maybe 75, but I remember, like, overnight going to the community centre, maybe in later 77, and like Aberdeen maybe been going about with glam rock or bell bottoms, flares, whatever, and then people had pierced chains going from their ear to their nose and ripped up clays and that. Like, 77, I was 10-year-old. But I remember going down one night, I was like, what the hell's happened? And then you became aware of punk rock music.
It's just like, you're looking at like, what's that? Like, straight away.
And I can remember watching Top of the Pops in 1978, seeing Sham 69, even though I was 11. Like most of the youngins, but I loved music. Can you come through the...
Top of the Pops was a massive thing.
Massive.
Yeah.
You'd sit down on a Thursday night to watch Top of the Pops and hear what the latest hits were, and you'd go down and buy your vinyl as soon as you got your pocket money or that. But music was massive, and I'd say by 1978, the wee squad of us that were our pals got into punk music. But it was a great time. I would say that the later 70s, you could have been into anything. Ska, mod music come out. Can the ska had come off the original Trojan ska, the reggae skinhead, which the shimmy had got in the late 60s, early 70s. So they'd changed for the mods into the Crombies and the skinheads and that. And
suspenders and
everything. They were like a small army. But By the late 70s, heavy metal music, pop, and it was just a great time to be a young person.
So many different cultures about in this.
And other fashions. You knew what people were into just by the way they dressed. People going to be mod parkas, and Quadrophenia had come out in 79. And then I think what was a big influence as well in that late 79, 1980.
Got to be the Warriors.
Was what I said. The Warriors.
It's got to be the Warriors.
The time I know it was bad because it came right in amongst the gang culture. And maybe 8 years before that, Stanley Kubrick's Clockwork Orange came out in 72, I think. And speaking to the older guys, that came out and...
It got banned that eventually, did it? Yeah.
I think Stanley Kubrick took it off his cell just because of what had happened. I think so. But again, it came in right in a time when gang violence was huge. And sorry, I meant to rewind, just minding.
It gets too back to
the colours. Dundee was unique, probably in the whole of Britain, for identifying with colours for the schemes that you were in, the scheme gangs. And I think the papers were always a few steps behind. The gang colours come around with the younger ends. So there was maybe like the Fantry Shams, and then you started getting the young Shams or the young Huns or that.
Just like younger
the
factions.
Next era. And they'd kind of brought in the gang signs and that, hand signs for wherever you were. So again, it was identity where you were fae. People would throw up the signs. And then the coloured jumpers, they reckon they come for the fashion like the cycling jerseys with the band across the middle.
Okay, so this is where the stripes come from, yeah?
They think it might be that for the mod style. And somebody had done it. I tried to get to what came about with the invention of gang jumpers or cardies. I couldn't get to it, but... By 1972, it was in the papers. They were noticing this, but probably a year before that, there was loads of stuff missed. Not like now, people could film anything. It's instant. It's happening. Whereas there was gang fights going on in the parks and schemes and that was never documented. The papers knew only a very small fraction of what was going on, but there was a wee bit in the paper in 1972 about the cult of the gang colours.
So it started about 72?
I would say probably 71, and then speaking of the guys in the gangs, the shop on the
outside
the Victoria Road, they were making them made to measure. So you'd get fitted up for a cardie or a jumper in your own gang colour. And boys were saying, you'd be standing in a queue with boys for the Hultoon Huns or the Beachy Mob. And
yes, they're all in the one queue.
You're not rolling about, you're waiting patiently and friendly on your gang jumper.
It's crazy.
Bouncing bricks off each other's head at night.
That's a trend. I didn't know it started back as early as 72. Reporting
it
that.
Come around again in the late 70s.
Did you ever find out how they picked colours? Or?
Nah, that was something that I missed out and I don't reckon, maybe in the modern era. The thing is, a lot of the older guys have sadly passed away where the information is, and there were some people that tried to get interviewed that didn't want to talk about it. Fair enough, Ken. It was some mad times.
Yeah.
But that was it. The gang colours, and there was a wee bit in the papers. I think it was 1972 as well. There'd been some really bad gang fights in the city centre. People getting stabbed and that, real serious injuries, and I think it was Charlie Farker, the provost at the time, or that. It was so bad they were threatening to turn the water cannons on these youths that were running amok. I mean, that's the kind of thing you would see in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives you a wee picture of how bad it was. Shoppers were getting scattered and that. And people might watch this and say, he's exaggerating that. It was there in the papers and for the horse's mouth, the boys that were in amongst it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It'd be horrendous to see you're shopping with your family and that, and hundreds of boys running at each other.
I started to think, I wasn't born at this time, but I started to think what Dundee would probably be like at that time. If I think the shipping yards, a lot of them were getting shot at that time and stuff, weren't they? Or the malls.
I think back, still in the 70s, still huge employment. The jute industry was maybe tailing off, but the shipyards, I think, were still doing well, and there was Timex, NCR, and that big employers. Maybe
Levi's and that, was that still
Levi's, yeah. Through the 70s, even, pardon me, into the 80s, huge employment. So there was jobs there, really, if you wanted to work and earn some dough. Yeah. But,
So factories. Where was the Coca-Cola factory? That's one I hear about that and I never know where it was.
That was on the Clippy, and if only...
Was that across with the Clip Bar? Is that where that was, or was that...
It was around about that area, and it's funny, because some guys will mention things that were there before, and I should remember, but
Once it gets knocked down, someone else gets built, you do tend to forget about it.
I think it was on the Clippy, yeah.
Because I always hear about the Timex and then, like, the Levi's and that, but then you hear about a Coca-Cola factory, and I'm like, no clue what that was.
Like, Dundee had huge manufacturing industries and big employers. Like I say, if you wanted a job, there was usually work out there in some form. Sad to see it's mostly gone now.
Yeah, well, industry. I'll go back to with your punk days. You're in your high school. So, like, start of the 80s. It was just before the casual scene, actually.
Yeah.
That kicks off about 83 or something, 84.
Yep.
What was it? What was high school like?
High school was great. Went to Linlahan in 79, and it was funny because you're coming out your own wee bubble, being in your own scheme of Fintry and Fintry primary scale, and then you're going to the big scale and you're hearing all the stories. Oh, your first day you get your head put down the toilet and that, and up shaking yourself to go to school.
I got that.
But very quickly you got pally wee boys from Mullermains, Mid Craigie, Linlahan. But even again, the gang culture had dead through the mid-70s. Probably with the Northern Soul, that early era guys had come together to go to the all-nighters, doing
like
Wigan and that.
That sounds like the rave culture, what the rave culture had done
definitely,
to the casuals.
Definitely. And then a new breed of younger ends had come about the late 70s, probably today with punk and skinhead and a different image and attitude. So it had kicked off again, and the colours had come back, because the gang colours had been about maybe for a couple of years, 71, 73, and then disappeared, really. Then they come back big style again, the late 70s, early 80s. So you were at scale, and I can remember the older ends would maybe be like, right, we're all going down to the Burnie to fight with the mid tonight, you's better be there. And you'd go down, and we were just young kid and throwing stones at the back, and if they ran at you, you were like, I'm off. But there were some real nutters that would just get in amongst it. That kicked off again, so it was at scale in secondary, but for me, it ended up just bussing about and left with a couple of C pass O levels and that. And didn't really care what I wanted to do. I think when I left scale in 83, I just wanted to dig holes or do a manual job, and that was I used to sit in maths and like, what's all this about? X plus Y equals Z. And just my brain was like, I was never going to do that. I just wanted to be a bricky's labourer or something.
You just want to work with your hands.
That was me. I'm happy. Yeah.
So what did you do when you left school?
End up on a YTS, £29 a week, joinery. And I think I only went into that because my old man was great at DIY, he still is. And I was like, I'll be a joiner. And I hated it. It was
I can relate. I was a mechanic when I was 16. I couldn't, honestly, I hated that trade. I got it out, but I couldn't tell you anything about it nowadays. Nothing about it, no. don't even know how I passed that, to be fair. What about what age were you when you left school?
16, 1983.
So that's basically like, did you start to see the casual scene coming in about that time?
Yep. I'd went up to Kingsway Tech.
Yeah.
So you'd go there for a few weeks, marking wee models and that. But it's funny, because I can still remember guys there with gang jumpers on, full skinhead gear and that. And it was skinhead by that time and
So is that what you transitioned from the punk to skinhead? Yeah.
But you still loved all the music. And
yeah.
we'd got into the oi music, and it's funny, it's a documentary, they were all like, that's far right, and what a load of shite. Of course there was factions of people that got into that crap, but we just loved the music and the style, just the same as...
So that'd be like the BMP and stuff, would that? And
they used to leaflet Linlahan Scale and the other scales come around National Front and that, and it was really trying to recruit young people to join these kind of movements, and none of us were interested in that crap. We just loved the music, you thought you were wee hard man, You got it.
What were you dressed like? Was it like Ben Shermans and like suspenders, or?
We'd had the braces and
suspenders, braces,
Doc Mertens, the yellow laces or red laces in them, the jeans. Probably didn't have money for Levi's, because they were a bit dearer, but just the look. And the Fred Perrys, I had 11 Fred Perrys probably in 1982. That'd be about £1 million worth now, couldn't it? And there was the Crombies. You got them out of McGill's, I think it was £30 or something. They were just imitation. The flight jackets, Harrington's, Stay Press, get the Keeler Centre, the Wellgate Market or that.
Did you do the old trick where people said they used to jump in the bath with their denims on to get them like...
I never done that, but I remember, it was a funny story. We used to get the jeans and just get bleach at the local shop.
Yeah.
And just sprinkle it on the jeans, and you get the blotched effect. And stretched jeans had just come on the go, be about maybe 82, 81. And my mate James McKenzie, James, if you're watching, you'll remember us. He'd poured Domestos, kind of real strong bleach on. So we went down to the community centre and got all the records on, jumping about, and his jeans started just literally Fanta butts while he had to go home and get changed there. But your legs used to reek of bleach in him. I remember as well getting food colouring at the shop and dye your hair.
Food colouring?
That was the cheap version of dyeing your hair. People would maybe didn't have money to go to a hairdresser and get it done properly. You just pour it in, but it never came off your hands. It was all over your head and that.
It's like fake tan or something nowadays.
And the boys Benji had put green over his hair, and he's jumping about and sweating. It was odd in his face, but I got him and I went right upstairs. It took about 5 washes to get this orange food colour out my hair, because my old man would have killed us.
You know what's starting to be lost? When I was younger, you always used to get somebody about the time with a proper mohawk.
Oh,
like a wax one, but it'd be like 5 spikes on their head or something.
Bully Finnegan, Bully was in the Haltown Huns, and he had a green and black Mohican and a green and black Doc Merton bit, and with the Haltown Huns cardi and that. And you'd see all these people in the tune, you knew them all. They were a bit older than us, Characters, and it was just the images at the time. But I noticed when I went to the college at the Kingsway Tech, there was boys from Minas Hill, and they just grasped the casual thing. They started wearing what we'd call bleached Levi's, like really light colour, and the Pringle jumpers and the polo necks and that. I thought they were soft boys. And because you've got to remember, you're coming out of punk, ska, skinhead, and
aggressive looks,
a hard look, aggressive, and then these boys are like jolly boys. You're like, what's all this? But when they got into it, these boys were in for the scrapping. It was just like back to the 70s. Football violence massive right through the 70s. And then it carried on into the 80s and the casuals became massive.
It's a subculture that heavily still, well, I won't say it's about today, but the trends that from it are still heavily about today.
Yep.
Like boys, it just never left from boys really.
Yeah.
That's what I like about the casual culture, because the trends changing it so much. Like you said, like you've first seen the Pringles and then it'll go on to like
the Loyal and Scott.
Yeah, the Sergio. And
it was the sportswear. Fila and Diodora and that were big things at the time. A lot of people didn't have money for
the price of them.
Prices,
Do you remember the 1980 Wimbledon final between Borg and McEnroe? Because like that photo of the two of them there, you've got Borg and the Satana like zip up, but it's like the BJ stuff.
Right.
Like, an original one of them nowadays sets you like, depending on condition, could be anything for like 250 to like 400 quid. Yeah, just because of the BJ badge.
Bloody hell.
The Sergio's not so much, but that Davis Cup one.
I just got this because of the West Ham colours.
I think Sergio makes some great stuff nowadays. Like they've came right back up.
It's great to see retros come back and you get the retro football tops and that remix kind of.
Oh, that's massive.
Abdi wants. I still love the old Adidas, just the 3-stripe T-shirt. And it's got to be the old badge.
Yeah, the trefoil.
Yes.
Yeah, the proper one. Yeah.
The casuals that first noticed it 83, 84, and it's funny speaking to the guys when I spoke about the emergence of the Dundee utility coming about. This is they got speaking of the boys for Aberdeen and that. This is they couldn't believe they were coming down in 83, 84, running amok, and says Dundee boys were still fighting with each other in scheme gangs, It was still the tail end of the schemes.
Well, I hear that. Like, I hear a lot, like Aberdeen, for instance, where they used to come up. They would come up the Hull Town. Like the Huns would like kind of setting about them with like in the wee alleys and stuff. I didn't think there was. I don't know for 100%, but yeah, I've heard different factions of gangs attacking certain teams at certain points.
There was still splintered. There wasn't the big coming together of the utility. I would say maybe till a couple of years later. Boys will keep me right that we're right into it. But I remember I never got into it just because of the fashion. I'm not wearing that stuff. I'm still the bleached jeans and the Doc Mertens and that.
You were on the football terraces at this time, eh? Being a big United fan. I suppose if we go 83, this is when you won the league and everything, was it?
And again, it's great coming from Dundee and following the football. And I'm not saying there wasn't fights between Dundee and United fans. Of course there was, and maybe still is sometimes outside the ground. But it really is. Boys can go to the pub after it and rip the piss at each other, but still get along. We've never really had that religious crap going on, which we've been really lucky with. But
yeah, no.
Dundee's a great town. Dundee had their great days in the 60s. My old man's seen them winning the league and that. And then we were lucky enough to win it 83. But I was very lucky to see the great United teams and just the emergence.
You see how special it was, like especially nowadays since it's not happened since 85. You know what I mean? Like going back, that's like 2 years after what we're talking about right now. I think there's only 5. I think there's 5 teams apart from the old firm that have won the league, and since I've won the league with Celtic and Rangers, and Dundee's in that from 62.
That's a huge thing for a city of Dundee,
yeah. We're going to go like the casual scene, but I'm going to need to ask you about certain stuff like the SAS, like the TV show that you ended up going on. How did that come about?
It's funny because that sole thing led on to everything that I've ended up doing.
Because you're a very creative guy, man.
Can what, Chris? I had no intention. Like I say, when I was at school, it was all about getting a sheet of paper and marking a doofer, chat up in your mouth and hit the blackboard and that, passing about. As far as writing or poetry, I would be like, no chance. Somebody said to me at school, you'll be doing poetry and writing plays. I'd be like, you're away with it. So I'll just speed things up. I was working in Dunclair dispensers, now Slumber's Talkheim. And then I moved to the NCR in 1990 or 91. And within the NCR, there was a hill walking club. I used to see it on the notice board. I was, fancy that, going over Scotland, the islands and that. And it was the best thing I ever done, because joining that, going up the hills and that, it just come about via an email for the BBC. Anybody interested in applying for this brand new reality TV programme, SAS, Are You Tough Enough? And there'd maybe been 1 or 2 reality TV programmes at the time. I think there was in where, I think it was Ben Fogle, he won £1 million or something on an island. So then the SAS thing come about, and there was nothing at the end of it. It was just, see you later, off you pop. But
that's shite to know since you won it.
well, come on, I'll get that in a minute. But we're Hull Walking Club got the email sports clubs over Britain. Anybody interested in going? So went and done a fitness test, sent in a wee video, and at the time I was training loads, mental, mixed martial arts, right at the start, UFC 1 and 2 and we were training full on, Billy Beggars and all that, Craig Robertson doing in Ferry, and it was great times. You were injured, knocking the hell out of each other. So I'd sent in a wee video doing the training and that, and they must have thought, get this numpty on again, and it was the only Scottish person on it.
What age were you at the time that you were on it?
33 or 34. Honestly, I would say I was at the peak of my fitness. I was absolute fitness fanatic, just training non-stop, sorts up the mountains.
You must have been the one this sort
martial
of
arts and just it's funny because like growing up, I'd muck about with my mates and that, but if somebody said boo to me, they were going to punch me in the face, I would have shit my breeks. I just wasn't like that, but I didn't have much self-confidence, so it wasn't until I went to a bit of boxing and karate and that, and then later mixed martial arts and that, and just got self-confidence. So that leads on to I got accepted for the SAS programme, and it was 11 days we were on it, and when I got there the first day, I was like, Jesus, there's some serious people here, serious fit people. But it was funny seeing them each day dropping out, and I always say we were probably at good levels of fitness, but it was what's up.
It's like in
it's
the mentality, yeah.
And I think other mad times up in the mountains, being in whiteouts and blizzards and that, and can life or death times hanging off cliffs and that, and it built your character. So going through this was, I just wanted to test myself and see how far I could go.
So did you hear the mentality of you wanted to win it, or you just wanted to see how long you would last?
No, I just left Chris and left. It's funny because I says to my mum and dad, just laughing, going out the door, I says, I'll go and win this, but I didn't believe that. It's not what I went for.
Yeah.
It's funny, the last time my wife says, because we're going to be on the BBC, it was BBC Two, she says, do not get caught clearing your nose out on the national TV.
Like back then, so, this would have been like millions and millions and millions of viewers, wouldn't it?
It was the most viewed programme on BBC Two on the Sunday night. It went out just 3 weeks in a row, an hour at a time. So, sure enough, the test was swim a mile around the swimming pool with your kit on, and I was a shite swimmer. I couldn't get over halfway over the Burney. And anyway, I managed to get around and done the breadth underwater to finish it. It was between me and one guy. Ena was going out, well, I didn't make it, and he gave up and I made it. But just before I'd done the underwater breath, I cleared my nose out. I was out on my feet, I was like that in the pool. And then I done a big goggles. And the panned on to the people that it was in Callender High School swimming pool, and they're like, oh. And Eddie Stone, the Scottish guy, the SAS guy, he's like, oh, gee. So I come out and he says 20 press-ups for spitting in that people's pool. So I didn't tell my wife when it went out on the final show, and I was lucky enough to win it. She's like, "Ah, you arsehole. What did I tell you?" I said, "I was out on my feet. I couldn't help it."
You're not thinking about that when you've got all that going on now.
There was, have we got time?
Yeah, go for it.
There was another funny story on the programme. About the 8th day, we'd been Fife Constabulary headquarters for today, shooting on their range. And when for day one we got told, mind that rifle's got to be with you everywhere you go. If you go for a push or a shit, you take that rifle, just the way the army are. So it was a decommissioned SLR rifle. Anyway, we gets to the Fife Constabulary headquarters on a Sunday morning, and I'm bursting for a push. So we gets in the minibus. There's only 8 of us left at this point, and there's 12 van loads of the SAS guys and that are there. And it says to Eddie, Eddie, I'm bursting. He says, look, just go out of the bushes across the car park. So I went out and took my rifle, and I come back, and one of the other SAS boys come on the van and says, right, where the fuck's action, man? I was like, he says, well, I just went out the van with a rifle in their hand. I was like, Eddie says I could go for a push. He says, you've just caused a major security alert. The police didn't ken that we were there, and on their CCTV seen a guy in combats. What? This is true. Walking out of the car park with a rifle. So, Eddie thought this was hilarious.
Did the police show up?
We eventually got in, and the BBC and that says, look, we're here for the programme. And they were like, oh, right, we didn't ken yous were here. But to them, it looked like some nut job.
They would have freaked out. Yeah.
Running amok in Fife.
What? How did it feel to win it?
Oh, Kim, what's funny, I sometimes watch it at the end of it, and I never jumped to boot or that. There was 4 of us left. Best experience of my life. I think for that, Chris, it really hot him that you can do anything in your life.
Yeah.
If you put your mind to it. And I think through the years now, if I can tell young people, it's like, believe in yourself, and anything you want to do, music or art or whatever it is, just go for it and don't bother what people say.
I think that we got, like, the time frame that, like, you yourself and me, we came up, you were told that you couldn't believe that you could do much.
And I think Dundee's quite critical of our own folk at times.
Yeah, very.
It's mad, they're like, don't you get too above your station,
It's like what you said, like, you told yourself that at high school, like, the stuff you had done, you would never have believed that sort of thing.
The skill curriculum, it's maybe changed a wee bit now, but you didn't have the opportunities to be a writer or that, like, get on with the 9 times table or you're getting the belt, you're still getting belted and that.
So what took you to writing then? Like you said, the creation came from that.
It just comes from, like you said, at the end of it, I never cheered or none. I was just like, come on, great. And I was going home on the train back to Dundee, and I was just sitting laughing to myself, looking at the fields. I was like, you done it. And I mean this, I was so happy there wasn't any cash incentive or that to win that thing. For me, it was about beating myself and seeing what you could achieve. And that swimming pool, just honestly, I swallowed half the pool. The level had went down by about 12 foot. I was drinking it.
Put it back up your gob.
So, just on the journey, him back to Dundee, I was like, I'm going to write a wee diary just day by day of going through the programme. So I did. I got a pad and pen, and just started writing day one, done this and that. And just as I was doing it, I said, I want to write a book about training for it and then going through it and that. So I did. Again, I wasn't bad at English, written English, the grammar and that. I had a decent gist of it. So I wrote a manuscript, sent it to loads of publishers, and nobody was interested. So I got it self-published with a company, and my mother-in-law gave us a loan of £1,000 to get it published. So got about 100 books or something and sold them to all my pals, and I got enough money to pay my mother-in-law back, and I think I made a couple of £100. But right from there, I had the writing bug. And then just from nowhere, started getting poetry, just writing about growing up in the Maltese and going to the berries and that. It just come from nowhere, but it felt right to do it in Dundonian. In our own language.
Yeah, that's something that should bring up for when you read the Gangs of Dundee. You have stuck it, like, it is written in our own language.
It's
like
phonetic.
The interviews and what people say and that, yeah. It's original to us, is it? It's like...
I mean, again, we get slagged up the way we speak for outside of Dundee, but I love the language, and it's funny, as things evolved, starting writing the poetry along with the book, and then I wrote a poem called Gangs of Dundee, just mentioning all the gangs. And for that, I said, come on, it'd be great to write a history of the Dundee gangs. So that was it. And I wrote a poem about the berry picking in the 70s. And then I was like, I'm going to write a play about the berry picking. And
it's authentic to Scheme Life. Like, Scheme Life's a book that you wrote, but like so many people resonate to it.
It's the same way what I grew up,
yeah.
Whether it was the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever.
The berries resonates with a lot of people.
It was great times. It was a chance to make some money when times were hard for people. And it gave you a work ethic. Go to the berries, work your arse off, and you can make some money and get some clays and that. So it was a great upbringing. I never went to the tatties, funnily enough, but I loved the berries. So the things I just started branching off, the poetry, and ended up going to a writing group on the Hultoon. Used to be in the Highwayman, which was a no-go zone in the gang days. That was at the Hultoon Huns in there. But I ended up a community centre and ended up going to a writing group, and a couple of mates in there, Kevin McCabe and Jesus, can't remember his name. They were already performing poetry, and I says, I'll go at that. I've jumped out of airplanes, I've been in boxing rings, stand up in front of people doing poetry on your own. That was the worst thing ever. But I just got on with it and found I loved it. It was a great buzz. And then for that, I ended up we got the Cundies together with the band and that. And so there's just been all these wee branches that's went off with the writing.
Different like creative avenues basically you can go down. I know we spoke heavily about the Gangs of Dundee book, but that was like, do you remember the buzz about that when that came out?
It was great to get it finished, Chris. Just see it in publication. That was an thing, getting the two books published for a proper publisher, Lewis Press in Edinburgh.
A massive achievement.
Gavin McDougall, great guy. He done my latest book there as well, the Wild Mountain Times, about the mad stories up the mountains. But just to hear a finished article or a book in your hand, it was someone else. And we had the book launch in Waterstones, and then we went to Davy Young's pub in the Old Smugglers.
Oh yeah,
and
that
was
was
funny
because
a lot of the guys that I'd interviewed were proper heavy gang guys in the day. They're sitting together reminiscing and drinking, whereas 10 years before, we would have been knocking the hell out of each other. So
it was the most. Was it not like the most stolen book in Waterstones or something?
Yes, them still due millions of pounds in royalties.
I remember the buzz about the city for everybody when that book was coming out, because everybody's granddad, everybody's uncle was in like the photos.
Everybody would ken somebody that was involved in it, and I've seen stuff on social media and that. Any of the things that come out at the time was people are like, "Oh, that's going to start the gang wars off again," and that. And what a load of crap! It had its time, and thankfully it passed. And I think everybody would hate to see that coming back again the way it was. 50, 100 people stand at shops waiting on anybody else come along the road and that. And it was unsavoury, but it was part of social history not just Scotland, across Britain.
Social history, yeah. It's a part of Dundee's history.
And it was great to document it and speak to the people involved, and just to get it out there, because as well, I went around the schemes, and the graffiti was still on the walls at the time. So I've got the photos that hopefully you'll never see again, like nowadays, because it was a mess. The walls were covered in gang stuff.
They're a lot more talented at spraying walls nowadays.
There's some creative art out there.
One last thing before we go,
Right.
mate. Well, what's your next project? I mean, you do so much. Like, what creative avenue will you go down next?
I've been saying for a long time to get back in about the playwriting stage stuff.
Do you like going on the stage and like performing
The
that?
funny thing was, when I first wrote the Berries play, my wife was in it, and then latterly my daughter and my wee grandson, we got him on stage in the Berries play. And way back, I always said I'll never go on stage. I like writing, but through a bit of default, I ended up on stage, and again, absolutely crapping your brakes. In the Dundee Rep or a full house.
That's a big stage, man.
Full house.
Yeah.
It's funny because the first couple of times we done the Berries play was in the Bonner Hall, and it was totally DIY. I was selling tickets, taking phone calls when I was on the bin, Larry. 3 tickets for Wednesday, no bother. I was dropping them off at people's houses and that, and I mean, you could get them in Groucho's and that as well, but we got, my wife, she's done loads of musical theatre and that, so we just pulled the pals together and got the set built and that, and it was real DIY, but got the bug for it. So
it's more special that way, is it? You're more involved in it.
And then eventually the Rep gave with a nod to go there. That was a huge thing, to get in the Dundee Rep. Just out for the schemes, it was massive for us, and just thanks to the Dundee public and beyond that have supported all the work we've done with the plays. It's been mental. But to be up there, it's just like reliving your youth at times, because we've done the Scarface playing that as well.
I think that's what you're great at. You're great at capturing nostalgia, and people, it triggers people's like the memories of what stuff used to be like. Like I said, but I told you I showed my gran that video, and she just sat there the whole time laughing. We used to do that. It touches people in a different way. You know what I mean?
I can. It's funny because I'm 59 now, and you're feeling like, if you're speaking to young folk, you're like, I'm an old fart now, but you hope that, speaking about the old days, you can still give them a wee flavour of what things were like. Again, things have moved on massively now.
I think, you know what, there's so much, I think the phones have ruined it, because everything is so documented.
I would agree with that.
Like the legend of a story, the arms and legs got added on to it that made it funnier or whatever else, you know, like that's
just
the beauty that's lost.
Speaking to each other, that's what I love when we go up the mountains and want a wee bothy in the middle of nowhere. Get the phones away.
Yeah,
let's
like,
just talk shite and have some banter.
That was one of my favourite things on holiday. There was this restaurant that said, there is no free Wi-Fi, pretend it's the 90s and have a conversation. And that was it.
That's true, just go on with it. But the next thing is to get the finger out, and I've got a new idea for stage, so hopefully
going back to the stage.
Once I get in the zone, when I'm sitting, I need to be away, peace and quiet. Stay away from the gin and tonic, and stop watching Peaky Blinders and that, and just get on with the work. So
one last question: how does it feel once you've done all that? You've put like your dedication into something, and you see it on like the Dundee Rep. Like, do you appreciate that before you go out? Is it just like a moment like, I've done it here, or is it you take it in after it's been done?
It's funny, Chris. A good question. You didn't think about it coming up to it. It's a lot of hard work behind the scenes, and it's funny, each time we've done the stage stuff, I'm like, I'm not doing that again. There's some things you're stressed out your head, but then, pardon me, you get onto the final night, and the curtain goes up, and people are whistling and enjoyed it. There was a few folk whacked out that didn't enjoy it, maybe a wee bit of swearing and that, but most people enjoyed the stuff. But what a buzz, Ken! What a total buzz! And I never really stopped to think about what I've done. It's just like, that was good, but what's next?
Yeah.
So I finished writing the last book, Wild Mountain Times, and that's done. I've had a bit of downtime, so it's time to get back writing again.
Well, I look forward to seeing what you do, mate. I feel like I could have
Chris,
pictured...
honest, a lot to catch up on what you're doing, but well done on what you're doing. It's great for the city, and
I appreciate that, man. Thank
it's good
you.
to support.
Today was about time about get your story and everything that you've done.
Thanks for having us on.
I genuinely feel like I could have picked your brain for longer. We're sort of time constricted.
There's loads of mad stories.
Yeah, there's loads. But yeah, honestly, mate, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I look forward to see what you do next.
Cheers, and you.
You invite us to your next play.
Definitely, front seat.
This has been episode 9 of the Dundee Soul podcast. Thanks for watching. Good night.